Yeah, class, good evening. I don't know whether you guys are online because I think I've waited enough to. Yeah, please, those who can hear me clearly should kindly signify, please, because we practically do not have much time to spend here. Uh, we started the semester by making analysis of the field of social psychology. Uh, Social psychology is a field which analyzes our thoughts, feelings, and behavior towards other people that are around us. It also explains how others have or exert an influence on our behavior within the social context. Thus, social psychology simply concentrates on studying the interactions of individuals with other individuals in the society at various levels. So, social psychologists investigates human social behavior at various levels. Primarily, these levels are intrapersonal social behaviors, that is, interaction between individuals, and interaction between individuals and group, and interactions between group and group. But from what I've done from the beginning of the semester, the course social psychology have in no doubt prepared you for the challenges you may encounter in the course of interacting with others. In other words, you are expected to make the best out of social psychology in order for you to be able to understand people. Most times we ask what exactly is the subject matter of social psychology. Human beings generally are essentially social beings. Everybody who is a member of the society is automatically a social animal. And we stay with other people, and our actions, thoughts, and feelings are mostly affected by the presence of others, which implies that the people we move with, the people we interact with, the people we talk to every time will definitely shape our behavior and attitude. So, at the same time, as we move with people, we also influence the behavior of other individuals. So, this generally consists of large amount of human behavior, your behavior, my behavior, and other people behavior. So social psychology is a discipline that tries to understand the human social behavior, as is the case with psychology that we did in year one. Even social psychology itself has a past which is less than 100 years, I guess. So the course, from the little we have done from the course, from the beginning of the semester till the end of the semester, this course definitely has helped you to learn and answer many questions as regards to group behavior influences individual behavior. From the moment some of you got admission into year one, you there are various behaviors, way of life, and sense of dialogue that was never part of you, but in the course of moving with people, interacting with people, you now some kind of change in attitude and some other stuffs like that. So you need to understand that the scope of social psychology is very wide, and it involves issues like social cognition, social perception, attitude, self, stereotype, prejudice, discrimination, interpersonal attraction, close relations, social influence, pro-social behavior, aggression, group and individuals, applications of social psychology. At the same time, many more are part of the various topics to be treated under social psychology. One of the various, let me just say, one of the important aspects of social psychology that we must all try as much as possible to understand is the subject matter of the field of social psychology. Why is it that people's behavior, or let me say group behavior, has a whole lot of impact on individual behavior? Why do we move in groups? And what are the changes in behavior that you have experienced by the virtue of you moving in a group? So, in the area of psychology, social psychology, we have said defining social psychology, you are simply talking about the field that studies, let me just say, we can say social psychology is a scientific field that seeks to understand the nature and cause of individual behavior and thoughts within the social situations. So, what makes social psychology scientific? For many students, and let me just say for many of you, the word science means you studying subjects or courses like physics, chemistry, biology, genetics, etc. But these courses and many others would wonder whether social psychology is a science. So, to understand the scientific nature of social psychology, we need to understand what we mean by science. In reality, science is not a label for certain fields of advanced studies in natural sciences. It has set of values and methodology, accuracy, objectivity, skepticism, and open-mindedness are values of science. So the data collection, analysis, and inferences are mostly drawn in most error-free manner. So the collection of data and interpretation is as free as possible from human biases. So only those scientific conclusions are accepted that have been proved over time again and again and again. So the views are open to change no matter how strong they are. So, if you look at the scope and subject matter of psychology, you understand that there are social thoughts and actions that are taken by individuals. They might be influenced by the society. They may or might also be influenced by people around them, but the thoughts and actions are of the individuals and groups. But the group exerts a whole lot of influence on individual behavior. So, social psychology has a very strong focus on individuals, and at the same time tries to understand the behavior of individuals. So, at the same time, it also tries to understand the various environmental or societal influences on social thoughts and actions. You have been taught a course social thought in this semester. So, there are various courses of social behavior and thought, because human social behavior and thoughts are caused by so many factors. Social psychology will always try to understand them. So let's see some of the important ones. There are actions and characteristics of other persons. So, because most times we are affected by various actions of others. For instance, or let me say, for example, you are standing on a queue for, let's say, the normal you queuing for GST exams. You are standing on the queue, to write exam, and somebody tries to break the queue. So in no time, you may get upset with the person and shout at him or her. And this and many other instances would help you to understand that your behavior is definitely affected by the action of other individuals. Just leave the door. I don't know. Leave it open. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. I just cited an example because I know how most of you rush to write GST exams. And in the course of you trying to queue for the exam, somebody somewhere from nowhere who has not been under the sun, like you guys have always been under the sun, tries to break into the line. And I know within the shortest period of time, some of you will get angry and at the same time get upset with the person and possibly shout at him or her. So you have been able to exhibit this behavior because many other instances would help you to understand that your behavior is actually affected by the actions of other individuals. So, similarly, there are certain characteristics of people who also change your behavior because of what they do around you. For instance, you are waiting at a bus stop and you realize that a blind man wants to cross the road. There is every possibility that you may quickly move ahead and help the blind man. So these are many other physical and psychological and social characteristics of people are mostly responsible for our actions. And there is a whole lot of cognitive process that take place in the course of understanding social psychology because our thinking determines what we do in social circumstances. And this is studied in the area of social cognitions. Cognition is our thinking process. Our behavior is determined by what we think. That is, all this implies that one reason why people do not respond to same situation identically is because since two different people think differently about situations and social realities, they will definitely respond differently. So the physical world around us, to a great extent, determines our behavior. Researchers over the years have shown that the temperature is negatively related with individuals' aggression and irritability. So, similar types of questions are also asked in social psychology. So, now you now need to take cognizance of the culture in which we stay or are born and brought up determines, our behavior. Culture is sum of values, beliefs, practices, arts, language, etc. So every culture has a different belief and a value system. For example, some of the decisions we make would depend on whether we belong to individualistic culture or collective culture. And for instance, marriage would be decided by individualistic culture, and they are decided by a process of mutual agreement among the family members in a collectivistic culture. So, biology also has a whole lot of influence on our social behavior because they can be understood physiologically, as physiological factors and neurological factors, genetic factors, and evolutionary factors. So the physiological factors we're talking about here contains issues like hormones, function of various glands, immune system, motor system. The neurological factors also include the brain structure, the neural cells, that's the neurons, the neurotransmitters, etc. So there is a genetic factor that would contain the study of influence of genes on human behavior, the evolutionary psychology that focuses on explaining the social behavior as a function of the process of evolution. So, if we are to trace the history of social psychology has a very interesting history, and it can be traced back to 1895 when Lebon theorized crowd behavior. So, triplets in 1897 experiment on social facilitation effects. Then there's also historical historical traces that we can trace to Ross and McDougall's 1908 in their first textbook of social psychology. These are early events that shaped the field of social psychology. So, social psychology started as experimental science. In the works of Sherif 1936, the studies on development of norms. They will also have Lewin's field theory of 1935. We also have Lippitt and White's 1939. Three leadership styles were tests were early important studies that conducted by Lewin, Lippitt, and White. So the World War II was a major event in the history of social psychology because many social psychologists fled Europe and went to the United States of America. The the history, there are many other disciplines that have emerged in in social psychology. So we went further throughout the semester to examine the subject matter, the importance, why, and reasons for studying social psychology. It is very important that we get to know that in the field of social psychology, we must understand that the people we move with play a whole lot of factor in shaping our life. It shapes our life because most of us are products of those we move with. So it's very important that we put into consideration the way people treat us and the way others also deserve to be treated. So please, class, if you can hear me clearly, signify because I practically do not have much time to spend here. Please. Please, if you can hear me clearly, please kindly signify, please. So, what exactly is the significance of social psychology? According to Fritz Eder, everyone to think that they are social psychologists. So he went further to say that in everyday life, we all form ideas about other people and about social situations with varying degrees of success. We interpret other people's actions and we try to make predictions as their behavior in a given situation. Then Raven and Robin 1983 also argued that a lot of people make use of social psychology principles in their daily lives. And when applied by charismatic individuals, the effects can be far reaching. For example, President John F. Kennedy of the United States of America used social psychological principles in creating his cabinet. He also used it to forestall a warlike confrontation with the Soviet Union then. What we mean by Soviet Union is the present day Russia. We also have cases of Martin Luther King Jr., an American civil rights leader who also applied social psychology skills in his fight for the integration of blacks in the mainstream American life and to end racial segregation. So, our everyday knowledge of social psychology is imperfect. Therefore, we cannot understand and predict. We cannot understand and predict human behavior with accuracy. A reasonable, let me just say, we have a lot of issues in understanding people's behavior because understanding people's behavior is more difficult than prediction of the same behavior. This is because the process Class, I think the network is